Welcome to the Recovery Lab podcast. We're glad you were able to join us. Recovery Lab hopes to destigmatize addiction and normalize recovery.
Our platform provides an avenue to share the many stories of those that have recovered from addiction, providing for the listener the most basic antidote to addiction.
Hope.
Get it, Drew. Go on now. Go on. All right. Hello, my people. Welcome to the Recovery Lab podcast. This is episode number, hold on, what did we say? 86? We're 86. My name is Daniel Anderson.
I'm Drew Hassan.
And we are the Recovery Lab. We are joined by a pretty incredible person today. She is joining us from Texas, although her life began in South Florida. And Dorothy and I actually went to high school together, 8th grade year of junior high, and then high school. And there are a few things that I always remember about Dorothy was she was incredibly smart. She was a hard worker. She was very kind to everybody that she came into contact with. And she appeared as though she was very, very focused on what she wanted to do. And from a very young, I knew that she was probably going to do some really big things in her life, just judging by the amount of compassion and love that she had in her heart for other people. So, and we are grateful today that Dorothy Hill from Richardson, Texas, has agreed to join us. So what we're going to do, first of all, welcome to you, Dorothy Hill. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing well, and such kind words. And I definitely didn't feel like that in high school. So I definitely wasn't sure exactly where my path would lead me. So very kind to hear those words.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I'm honest, I don't think that I truly knew who I was until my mid 30s. So I totally get it about the high school. You know, we do the best we can with what we're given in high school, and it's hard to be a kid. So, all right, let's jump into a little bit. I don't want to waste your time. I know you've got a lot of stuff going on, but let's dive into where you got your start. Where were you born, and when did you move to Texas? And give us a little bit of a background. And ultimately, we want to wind up discussing your work with those that are struggling with substance abuse disorders or alcoholism or just mental health in general. So let's start at the beginning. Let us know a little bit about who Dorothy is, where she came from, and let's just take it from there.
All right. Well, you guys stop me. I'll just start rambling on. But born in Dallas, and about, I think, 2, we moved to South Florida, where my mom is from. I have a little brother, 2 older half sisters, mom and dad still married, just to give you like family of origin context.
Oh, so you were born in Dallas and then moved to Florida?
Yeah.
Oh, got it. I had that wrong. My apologies.
Very good.
All right, go on.
Grew up in South Florida in Vero Beach, which was a really small beach town. Grew up around family, very laid back. Sometimes I've heard people say, like, I'm not truly a Dallas girl. I don't act truly like a Dallas girl. And I think it might be that South Florida background. But around 13, mom and dad decided it was time to move back, and for just made sense for our family. So we moved to Dallas, and that's where we met.
I love it. All right. So you start Franklin Middle School in Dallas. We then go to Hillcrest High School for our high school experience. Where did you go? Where did you land after high school completed?
Yeah, so I really wasn't sure where I was going to land, other than I actually was very interested in like an arts, fashion, marketing degree. And so I went to the University of North Texas, started as an art major, and kind of got disillusioned with the idea of maybe being a struggling artist potentially. So, what really also had a passion for working with kids. I grew up with a family member who was a teacher, and I would spend a lot of time supporting her in her classroom. And so I decided to pursue a undergraduate degree in education with a specific focus in special education. That was what really spoke to my heart, was working with kids with differing needs and helping them go through the education system. Graduated and started working actually in Richardson ISD, which is very funny to kind of be back here. But
Full circle moment.
yeah. And spent 2 years working in the school system and really loved working with kids. I just figured out that the school system was not where I felt like I could do the best or the greatest impact with individuals with differing needs.
Sure.
And started looking into different graduate programs and went to talk to Dr. Joel Muro at Texas Women's University. They had a master's counseling and development program, and he sold me on this was my best route or my next route, and I agree. I'm so glad that I had that meeting and pursued that degree at Texas Women's University and graduated a couple of years later.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right. So after you graduate from Texas Women's University, what's next? Where did you, between the time where you got your first job outside of, or I guess, outside of Texas Women's, was there what was that time frame like? Was there a lot of anxiety about, what do I want to do? What path do I want to take? What exactly job field do I want to go in? Or were you more, you were kind of convinced that that you kind of have an idea of what path you want to take, and you were, pretty focused on what you want to do? Which one was it? Were you kind of, what was that time period like for you?
Well, it's very interesting because when you pursue a graduate degree in like psychology or counseling, I think everyone generally kind of is like, oh, I'm going to go straight into private practice, or I'm going to, and I think a lot of people with any degree, they're like, oh, I'm going to launch into my dream job. And I think most of us figure out it's not exactly how that works. Especially with, for instance, I have licensing regulations. You have to do a certain amount of hours as an associate license in the state of Texas before you can kind of fully go into private practice. Mm-hmm. So there was some kind of resettling of expectations and trying to figure out what my best path was from there to get those hours that I needed to be able to fully launch into my career, and figuring out what experience would be really beneficial for me. So really, I was fortunate enough in graduate school, I worked as the front desk receptionist for a counseling practice and a psychiatry practice. And they were immensely helpful in kind of telling me what they felt was the best experience for them before they were able to go into private practice. And one of them had mentioned that getting into crisis work or severe mental illness work pretty early in their career really helped put them in solid grounding for the rest of their career. Getting that experience early on, that training early on, was really advantageous for them. And so I ended up working for a local crisis line and crisis service organization called ADAPT. And we did both. We had a 24/7 crisis line, and we would also go out into the community. We serviced 7 counties around Dallas and go into people's homes and meet with them and do assessments and try to connect them to services they needed.
That's awesome.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Where is the dividing line between mental illness and severe mental illness?
Yeah. So when, it's definitely a moving line, and it's a line that moves with the more information we have, the more studies we have. So like a severe and pervasive mental illness is going to be somebody who is potentially requiring intense case management, multiple hospitalizations, pretty significant medications if that's something that they're open to taking. So this is a severe mental illness is going to have a severe impact on your functioning in daily life. It's not.
It isn't so much a function of the classification of the diagnosis. It's the severity of your of the person's infirmity with it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. So the more
I see. I
support
got you.
somebody needs is we're going to classify that more as more of a severe mental illness.
Okay, that was it. Thank
Oh,
you.
okay. All right. Cool.
This, to get into like there are like legal, like the state of Texas does, and insurance companies, they shorten it to SMI. Now they consider things like significant depressions, schizophrenia. Those are going to be what they like classify on paper as severe mental illness. In the community, we're a little bit more gray about it. It's not so black and white. And we relate it more to your executive functioning in your daily life.
Well, I was trying to determine if I thought you were talking about like people that are like incapacitated with some sort of some ailment, like they couldn't leave their house. But I see what you're saying about I guess a person could have at periods a severe mental illness by being hyper depressed, and somebody who can function, that doesn't need like 24/7 around the clock care forever.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also when the state thinks of severe mental illness, which we can, it came up a lot when I was working in eating disorders, because the government and the states really struggle with trying to classify whether an eating disorder is a severe mental illness. It's the probability that this person their life could end because of this mental health diagnosis.
Yeah, that's a good example of an eating disorder. Yeah, I mean, you could have, because there's a spectrum there from, I hate myself when I eat Snicker bars all the way to, I weigh 85 pounds.
Yeah, but it's massively difficult, and oftentimes much more difficult than struggling with drugs and alcohol, because you don't have to have drugs and alcohol in order to survive.
I completely agree.
But you absolutely have to have food in order to survive. So it's almost like I went to an outpatient in Dallas, the Preston group. I don't know if you ever did anything with the oh God, what was the name of that? Solutions Outpatient. And they had a whole eating disorder group that met with us on certain nights. And the struggles that they went through, it was absolutely incredible. And I was sitting there thinking, I've got a problem with drugs and alcohol, but this is a whole nother level. This is something.
Yeah, I don't need to figure out or craft a way to be able to do meth 3 times a day.
That's right. 3 square shots a day.
Yeah, I've got it handled.
All right. So,
okay, sorry, I got us sidetracked here.
No, you're good, brother. You're good. All right. So moving on. So you're out of college. You start working with, what was the name of that company one more time? The first
Adapt Community Solutions.
All right. So you start working with Adapt. What happens next?
Yeah, so I stayed with Adapt for a couple of years. One of the programs that I really enjoyed my work there. I really like working with individuals with significant mental health concerns, and really being able to be that resource for them. And so that organization actually started working within Dallas County Jail, which, as you can imagine, my parents were like, oh, cool, you're going to go work in Dallas County Jail. A little scary for them, but I really enjoyed this work. And we would go into the jail and meet with individuals who had been arrested, who had a history of mental health diagnosis or mental health treatment within certain community organizations. And we would complete assessments with them and attempt to connect them to resources. There's a lot of deferred adjudication programs in Dallas where if they feel like maybe the crime was a result of your mental illness, they would put you on a kind of a mental health probation. And so we would work with them to get connected to group homes, outpatient programs, inpatient programs, things like that, so that we could reduce their likelihood of returning to the jail system. And I really did enjoy that work.
Absolutely. And I have to say, so you were actually working in the jails, is that correct?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I have to believe that those experiences had to be something that stuck with you, probably stick with you until today. Like, did you have, once you were in the jail, you were working with other people, what was the feeling of, this is just a personal question, what was the feeling like when you you packed up, and at the end of the evening or end of the day, you were able to walk out. What was that thought? Was there a tremendous amount of gratitude, like A, that I'm helping other people, and B, that I get to walk out of this place? What was that feeling like? Was it super rewarding, or was it more kind of just, I'm here to do a job? I'm going to do the job to the best to the best of my abilities. What was that feeling like, that exact feeling? We've got a lot of listeners that have spent a lot of time in jail on various things, scandalous activities, drug activities, whatever. And so I'm just curious about what did you feel, not only doing that work, but being able to walk out of that facility as well at the end of the day?
Yeah, I think it changed from moment to moment because I would see, 4 to 5 individuals a day. Sometimes it was meeting them, in jail. Sometimes it was going to court with them to speak to a judge about the plan we developed. So, sometimes there was immense gratitude for being able to support individuals needing is this advocacy. I specifically remember, advocating for somebody who had their first psychotic break, which is very scary for everyone involved, and was able to speak to the judge and educate the judge on what that jail was not going to benefit this person, that being
Right.
put in a program was going to be more advantageous for their long-term outcomes, or even educating judges on there is no such thing as a cure for any of this, and so kind of helping them reframe their thought process when it came to these individuals in their courtrooms. So a lot of gratitude for the advocacy piece of it, a lot of empathy, a lot of learning. A lot of going into it as, recognizing your own privilege and the ability to keep yourself out of these situations, even, if I did need, get into trouble, knowing that I had a support system that would help me get out of these situations. So I really enjoyed the work there and being able to do all of these things for those individuals, but definitely spending some time on the drive home of just kind of packing in that box, making sure I was not bringing it into my home life, allowing myself that mental break of not just carrying this with me all the time. That's really important when you are working within severe mental illness, is to be able to take care of yourself.
Right. That's actually, that has to be top on the priority list. And
Very
that's
difficult.
Yeah.
Very
So
difficult.
that's, I had somebody that was close to me that worked at a rehab facility, drug and alcohol, for 11 years. And it was 11, 12 years, massively taxing psychologically. And, sometimes this person set aside enough time to be able to kind of decompress and deal with everything. But oftentimes it was just raw dog life, steamroll, keep going. So that brings me to my next question real quick before we go on to what's next, is how you mentioned how important it was to take care of yourself. What exactly did that look like for you? What steps did you take? And did you fail at times of not taking enough time for your own personal mental health and well-being? What things did you do? And would you encourage other people that are working in stressful environments? How did you decompress? How did you take time for yourself and stay sane at the same time while you're working with people that are really struggling and difficult, taxing situations in your professional life?
Yeah, I think, it's certainly trial and error. And I think one of the things I really love in my work is working with young clinicians, or, young career clinicians, because this is such a process that you go through. And so, some days it's like, yeah, I can listen to music on the way home and feel good. Sometimes I might need to call somebody and just talk about something else. How was your day? And data analytics, because I need to not think about my day today. And also knowing when I needed to speak to my team and say, like, I really need to talk about something that just happened. And really, I think a lot of times we feel like we need to shoulder everything ourselves, or we don't want to look weak in front of other people. We want to be the expert. And so really learning to ask for help has been my biggest growth and my biggest strength in this process of taking care of myself.
Yeah, you said it right there. The willingness to ask for help. It can be the most difficult thing in the world, but oftentimes we all need help. Everyone needs help from time to time, and being able to be vulnerable and say, "Hey, I'm at a point where I need some help. I need some input on that." That is not weakness. That is the definition of strength. Being able to recognize that there's an issue, ask for help, and move past it. So kudos to you for doing the work necessary to kind of get to a point where, hey, you know what? I can't do this on my own, and I have this wonderful support network with me right here, and I'm going to tap into that resource. So, all right. So you work for, You were there for 2 years, and then what's next after that? What was the next step in the progression of your career?
Yeah, so my next big step was I actually started to work for Eating Recovery Center, which is a national organization that treats eating disorders they have intensive outpatient all the way up through inpatient. And I worked for the local facility in Dallas, but it was the admissions person. So I was the person you met with before you were admitted to treatment. We did the assessment, determined what level of care was appropriate, and then was able to grow within that organization so that when I left, I was actually managing the entire Texas team of admission specialists. So I have 14 individuals, I think, and just really helping them connect individuals to the right eating disorder care at Eating Recovery Center.
That's beautiful, beautiful. And you were there for how long?
About 8 years.
About 8 years. Okay. Mm-hmm. Wow. That's a long time. All right. So you obviously were, I'm sorry. Let me come over here again. I am human here and make mistakes. All right. So you were there for 8 years, and towards the end of that 8 years, what was your mind? What were you thinking? Were you really thinking about wanting to start your own private practice? What were the thoughts going through your head? Obviously, everything comes to an end eventually, and all good things come to an end. So what was that transition like? And your private practice came right after that. Was that correct?
I spent a little bit more time at another organization. It was a virtual intensive outpatient program and so I was there for 2 years. I was doing mostly back end work, but just behind the scenes, educating clinicians, onboarding clinicians, leading a team of individuals who would train all the clinicians that went to work for this organization. And at that point, I started trying to figure out what my next steps were. And I have a young son and was trying to figure out how I could really, self-care becomes especially important when you're a parent. It's not just you, that if you carry this home with you that you're impacting the most, vulnerable human that you could be in your life, and also the human in your life that is picking up on all of the things. It is their job as children to read you as a parent, to figure out if this is safe, if they're safe. That is their evolutionary drive, is mom is going to tell me if I'm safe. So I really started focusing on really truly taking care of myself at this time. And for me, that meant stepping away from a larger organization and starting a private practice so that I had a little bit more flexibility, autonomy, and working and getting back into clinical care. I missed being in front of patients and treating them directly.
I get it. All right. So you were at the end, you were talking about how you were kind of the behind the scenes. So you really enjoyed being in front of people. Is that correct? Being kind of firsthand dealing with people instead of kind of what's on the, everything that is absolutely important that gets taken care of behind the scenes. And the world would not work if there were not people that were doing that job. But for you, from what I'm hearing, it was a better fit for you to kind of be able to get back in front of the people that you're working with and that you care so much about. Is that correct?
Yeah, I really enjoy both. I can't say that I didn't enjoy the behind the scenes work, but it was just missing that extra piece of working directly with people.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So what, after that 8 years concludes and you're, I take it you hop into private practice. What was that? Was that a rewarding experience? Was it everything that you expected it to be, that everyone had told you it would be, or was it a kind of a difficult transition. What was that like for you?
It was a blend. I think part of it was I gave myself some time off in between. I really hadn't taken much time in between any positions for the last 10 years that I could remember. I was kind of just hopping on to the next role. And so giving myself some time to reset, I think was incredibly beneficial. And I feel very fortunate that I was able to give myself some time to do that and not immediately need to start working. And then just starting to set up, the logistics, which I think, and looking back, and my advice to anybody who is looking into going into private practice as any kind of clinician is working at large organizations really gives you a skill set of being able to launch your own private practice, because when you are behind the scenes and you know how things like insurance and billing and all kinds of fun stuff like that, you don't learn that stuff in grad school. You learn that stuff working at other organizations. So I really felt like I had a solid ground of being able to navigate the complexities of establishing my own business, essentially. And I think one of the things that was interesting was people were like, you're going to be flooded before you know it. You're going to have so many patients. You're not going to know what to do. And so I was a little worried that I was going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to hit, publish on my Psychology Today profile and I'm going to be overwhelmed. And it wasn't like that, which I'm grateful for. It allowed me to really ease into it. It allowed me to make sure that I was able to take care of every new patient as they came in and not feel overwhelmed, and do it at my pace rather than, as caregiver, we go into therapy as caregivers. We want to take care of people. And so it can be hard for us if, 12 people call us and say, we want to start tomorrow, to tell all 12 people, no, I'm so sorry, I can't work a 12-hour day tomorrow. So it allowed me to really make sure that I was taking care of myself and my patients by doing it at a very moderate pace.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can't take care of yourself, it's difficult to take care of your patients. I would imagine. All right. So your private practice is rocking and rolling. How did that turn out? Obviously, you're probably still, I guess you're still doing that, but what was the transition like? And with Mavita, I want to jump into that. I kind of want to talk a little bit about that, actually a lot about that, because that I was doing a little research on my own about the organization, and I could talk for hours and hours about what you guys are doing. So obviously we don't have hours and hours, but I do want to touch on that in a pretty substantial way. So are you still in private practice and working with Mavita, or did someone approach you from that organization? What did that look like, and what's that transition like, kind of getting closer to where we're at right now?
Yeah, so Mavita, so one of the co-founders of Mavita, Emma, and I had worked together previously, and I was so excited to hear that she had started the organization Mavita. Women's reproductive health has been something that I've been passionate about since I was 16, and certainly becoming a mom myself elevated that desire to be in that space and really support other moms and birthing persons as they go through this journey, especially from a mental health perspective. It's a very underserved population. We typically only hear about postpartum in the most dramatic fashion, whether it be in news or media. And so Emma and I got connected because they were needing some additional support as they brought in new clinicians to develop a training program, make sure that their clinicians and their clinical procedures were in line with what they needed to be. So I actually started as a consultant with them. And as I got to continue to work with them and get to know Dr. Sarah Orrick, who's the co-founder and CEO, and a reproductive psychiatrist herself, I really just continued to fall in love with the organization. And so really just have been transitioning to a full-time position with them as their head of clinical operations. And they've been really gracious about understanding that I did have this private practice. And so I'm kind of doing both right now, which means I'm very busy,
Sure.
but I really enjoy it. And I'm really happy to be able to assist Mavita as much as possible. And I really just wanted to be able to dedicate as much of my resources as I could to developing this organization.
Beautiful. So tell us a little bit, let's go a little bit more into detail about exactly what Mavita does for women. So kind of start from the bottom and wind up at the top. What services do you offer? Where do you offer those services? And also, how can people get in touch with this? And I'm also going to put a QR code while we're talking about this, so individuals can just take a picture of this QR code and it'll take them directly to that website. So let's jump in. Tell us as much as you can about Mavita and the wonderful work that you guys are doing over there.
Yeah, so Mavita is twofold. So we provide direct clinical care in the states of California, New York, and New Jersey, and we'll continue to expand as we grow and add new clinicians to our team. I'm fingers crossed we're coming to Texas next, as that's where I'm based. But we provide both perinatal prescribing, which is a very niche market. There are a lot of OBGYNs and psychiatrists who, once they find out that their patient is pregnant, become a little wary of prescribing mental health medications for that person. There's a lot of research to be done. There's a lot of stigma. A lot of providers are really worried about the liability. So that is one of the big pieces that we do at Mavita, as well as ongoing individual counseling, couples counseling, and group therapy. So that's the direct clinical care we provide. And then in addition to that, we actually have an app that's very cool, and it has a lot of content that our direct care patients are also getting access to. The app is available to anyone across the country, and what it has in it is it has little activities in it that you can go in and complete and learn more about psychological flexibility or managing anxiety during postpartum, bonding with your baby, lots of different aspects about the perinatal journey, which is the time from conception all the way to postpartum. And we even have individuals who are like, I'm not sure I'm even ready to try, but if I'm going to start heading down that path, I want to start this early and start learning more about maybe how I can manage my mental health during this experience.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. You guys are doing some incredible work. And let me shut this off here. You guys are doing some incredible work, and I don't want to take up any more of your time than we have to, but from the bottom of my heart, I'm grateful for the fact that you took a little bit of time and to talk with us today. Coming from someone who, we were friends in high school, and seeing the progression that you've had throughout your life, from afar off, much of that time from Facebook and things like that. But you are doing some incredible work. You have done incredible work, and I'm massively, massively proud of you. And I'm just thank you. I'm grateful that you took the time today and came and sat down with Drew and I. And was there anything else that you wanted to share before we cut out?
As I was thinking about our conversation today and the work that you guys do, one of the things that pregnant women or women who are postpartum experience, there is already so much shame regarding what women are doing with their bodies during these times. I mean, I remember walking into a sushi restaurant 7 months pregnant, and the looks that I got, even though I actually didn't eat any sushi that day. They have cooked options as well. And so, when we think about substance use in these time frames, is really trying to provide a safe space for these women to be able to express maybe any urges they're having, any using that's occurring without any shame or judgment. And if you think about having a new baby and the fact that you might have engaged in any substance use, the first thing you're afraid of is, I'm going to tell somebody and my baby is going to be taken away from me.
Right.
And so if you have an individual in your life who is in this period, please just let them know that you're here to support them, that there's help to be had, and that, you're going to come at this from a non-judgmental place, and that you want to know early on that these urges or this using is occurring this is when we can manage it. This is when we can take care of it. And also in general, also without no shame about taking mental health medications. If they're seeing a provider who feels comfortable with them being on this medication, then, and they're comfortable with being on this medication, then that's all that matters. Again, so many people have, there's never a more critical time in a woman's life for her to experience so much judgment. And so just really supporting women in this time frame is just really crucial.
Well, thank you for everything that you have done and are doing and will do. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Again, this was Dorothy Hill, just a wonderful, wonderful person. So thank you again for joining us. Drew, do you have anything else before we cut out?
No, just to express my gratitude for you taking the time to come and talk to us. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be here. Thanks, guys.
We're glad to have you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dorothy. And we will see you guys and gals and everything in between next week. Thank you so much for joining us.